Welcome to an incomplete guide to personal growth. We invite you to take a breath and take a listen to our podcast that explores the wonder, humor, challenges, and sometimes those self-inflicted wounds on the journey of personal growth.
Our weekly podcast conversations include stories, resources, and tools that you can incorporate into your daily life. We're the mother-daughter duo of Sydney West
and Kelly Arundel. Hey, Sid.
Hey, Mom.
How
are you?
I'm great. We're
Yes.
back with Bernie again,
back.
and I'm excited to talk.
Yes.
This sounds fun.
I know.
I'm excited to talk about depression.
Depression.
No, I'm excited to have her
Oh
with
my
us. Let's say that. And let's one more time. Let me remind you that
Yes.
if you need to talk with somebody, this we're not here for therapy.
No.
But if you need to talk with somebody or in a crisis, dial 988. It's a national suicide prevention hotline, and they have trained professionals. They can talk with you and also find resources for you in your own community. Mm-hmm. So very important.
Disclaimer.
Yes.
Yes. So I have something really cute to tell about Charles this week. So he's, learning all these little single words and stuff. Yes. So every time, there's no separation anxiety, I guess, with this boy sometimes. Because, we put him down for bed or nap time, and I was like, okay, good night, Charles. And I start walking out, he goes, bye. And I'm like, bye, bye, bye. And we just say bye back and forth.
He does.
So long. I'm like, okay, see you later.
We put him down the other day, Dad did, and was
he
like,
bye.
Does he always just say bye?
Yes.
Bye.
Bye. It's so funny.
That's his way.
Funny.
Yeah, so that is how he says goodnight. Luckily,
No
at
matter
least
what,
at
it's just
nighttime,
bye.
no separation anxiety yet, since we talked about anxiety last
That's
week.
right. Yeah, he doesn't have that.
No, he does not.
That's good.
Yes.
That's fun.
So it's our fun little tidbit.
Yes.
Yes, okay. So depression. I kind of want, I know. I kind of want to get into, because again, just like anxiety, I think depression is a word that can just be thrown around. I'm so depressed. But what does it actually mean? And then maybe could you get into some of the types too? Yeah.
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 I wrote down my definition because I was like, I want to get this correct.
Yeah.
So constant feelings of sadness. So it's really, really, really consistent, and it doesn't go away like grief would or general stress and life changes. So it doesn't just go away.
Yeah.
There's a significant loss of interest in what you enjoy to do.
Yeah.
There's a significant loss of interest in almost yourself, I would say. And these things stop you from doing your normal activities.
Yeah.
It is a medical and a mental health condition that affects so many different areas of the brain.
Really?
And so it's not just one link that it's so much of it. It affects how you think, how you respond, how you behave, how you feel. So it affects almost every aspect of your being in a way. So that's how I view depression. I think a lot of people are like, oh, I was so depressed this weekend. I couldn't get out of I laid in bed and binge watched TV. And I'm like, you were probably just tired. That's not depression.
It's not depression.
Yeah.
Or maybe you are really sad. Maybe something bad happened and you're sad and you're crying in bed. Not necessarily
but there's a
depression.
difference between being sad and having that time. And
Yeah.
Definitely.
Because I think about that. I think there's would that be situational depression? Or that's different than just being sad for
Which one?
situational depression?
Yeah, you can have
I've heard that. I
situational
don't know what
depression,
that is.
but it would. I mean, either way, it's got to be more than
Extended.
an extended period of time.
Okay.
Like major depressive disorder has to be for 2 weeks at least.
Okay.
So it really doesn't. It's interesting because that one, depression, it's 2 weeks. Anxiety has to be 6 months to get diagnosed.
Really?
So it's interesing how different they are, kind of thing. I think it's interesting because it shows us we really aren't meant to live that way.
Yeah.
But with anxiety, it's we're kind of meant to have fear. So
for a little bit at least.
Yeah, it's part of survival.
Yeah.
But it's a
Depression
significantly
is-
less amount of time.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I want to know like types, like just list out some different types.
The different types.
Yes.
Yeah, there are. So one of them is called disruptive mood dysregulation disorder, which I don't really get very often. It's only kids and adolescents. But it's like they'll have tantrums, like severe tantrums. It's kind of like ODD, oppositional defiant disorder, but there's a difference. I'm not like a play therapist. So I don't know as much about that one.
Yeah.
Then you've got major depressive disorder, and then you've got persistent depressive disorder. So that's one where it's more low grade.
Okay.
It's not as like intense as major depressive disorder, and it's really long standing. It can go on for years at a time.
Oh wow.
And then you have premenstrual I can't ever say this word, dysphoric disorder.
Okay.
So when you have, I think it's a week before your period, you start having a tank in mood because of the hormone flush. And it normally ends about, I'd say 2 to 3 days after your period starts. So, which stinks because that's like almost half a month in a way, you know? It's a pretty good amount of time.
I've felt that sometimes, for sure.
That is tough.
I have some clients who, I'm not going to lie, I was kind of like, it's just PMS. No, there's a big difference.
Okay.
Big difference. So it can really, really
I've never
affect
heard
you.
of that.
Yeah.
One more thing.
So those are the different categories in like for our diagnostic manual that are in there.
Yeah. Okay.
So your body, how your body reacts to that. You know, we talked about, you know, with anxiety, there was...
It's like revved up.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And is this just the
Is it opposite?
Or
it's the opposite, but it also has a lot of similar things. Like you can be really fatigued with anxiety, but then with depression, you can for sure have chronic fatigue.
Yeah.
Both of these are going to have a low sexual desire. This one typically has, I feel like they both have low appetite, some people, but this one's more out of like an apathy versus like anxiety could be like out of nausea or something.
Yeah.
They both have issues with your sleep.
Okay.
I mean, either way, people with anxiety can sleep to avoid, but then depression, some people sleep because they're so exhausted or to avoid. Some people have problems going to sleep. A lot of people, a pretty good sign of depression that I've seen in people is if they wake up in the middle of the night about 2 a.m. Because that's when like you have a hormone reaction in your body after a certain amount of time of sleep, and they wake up out of it. It's
and
like
then
a cortisol
it's hard
thing.
to go back to sleep.
Yeah.
wow.
The one that I think is super interesting is when you have depression, you're more sensitive to pain.
Oh.
So your pain tolerance goes way down.
Interesting.
It's really interesting. So
That's cool.
it's just part of what the body does.
Yeah.
That is fascinating. Our bodies are just...
You have a
real.
hard time fighting infections off, so your immune system can become compromised. It can, and I think it's like constriction of like your blood vessels can happen, and so you can have like cardiac issues, blood pressure issues,
I believe
things like that.
Yeah.
So it really does
affect
do
your
a number.
physical health too. Yeah.
Yeah, and does anxiety play into depression, or
They're kind of like the ugly stepsisters, you know? They just they really like to come together. You know?
Yeah, I know. I feel like I hear them paired.
They are paired.
Okay.
Sometimes they're not. Honestly, because I started with eating disorder work first, it's normally with an eating disorder, you're going to have one of these two.
Okay.
I've only had one client ever who didn't have another diagnosis with an eating disorder. So that's how I got more interested in working with depression and anxiety.
Yeah.
But they come together a lot, you know, and I think a lot of times one can kind of cause the other, you know, if you're highly, highly anxious, it can like, because of it, you avoid, and then depression comes.
Gotcha.
So,
because you want to avoid social, and then you're alone. I had a friend. Yeah, I had a friend one time. She was working on her, I guess, her counseling degree, and she said, "Yeah, I was supposed to get a group going, you know, depression for depression." She said, "Nobody wants to come."
I was like, "That's a really hard group to put together."
She said, "Yeah, because they don't want to."
Yeah, it's hard to get people to do things.
Take the wrong project, didn't you? You know?
No.
Zoom groups help with that.
That's probably been one of the positives.
I would agree with that.
With that, because you can still be in your safe spot, yet you begin to interact.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we can find a positive about that. Yeah. I just want to mention I don't want to get stuck on this, but medications.
Yeah.
Because I think that is so, there's so many out there.
Oh goodness, so
and,
many,
and
and always more.
Always more, and I don't want to discount them because they are helpful.
Yes.
But it's finding what's
right
like
for you.
We talked about last week, finding the right therapist. You've got to know what works and what doesn't. And as a parent, when your child is taking them, you've got to again
really watch,
trust that they're going, this isn't, and watch them closely. Is it heightening? Are there things that because I mean they're necessary and they're helpful, but there's a lot of new, and then it's scary, and then the next best thing.
Right. There's always something to try or whatever. I think it's important to find the right psychiatrist.
Yes.
Finding a psychiatrist that'll listen, that takes more than 5 minutes with you. One that, if you're a kid or like an adolescent, so important to find a specialist because it's different for kids.
It's different, I would think. Yeah.
We have in San Antonio. We have good child and adolescent psychiatrists, just very few.
There's just very few, and what you get, you get. And we had some experiences with that, and but then it's hard to find with insurance.
Yep.
Yeah.
And hard to get in.
Yep.
Yes. So again, you have to really work at it.
Do you often talk with a psychiatrist and like work together?
That's another thing. I always have people. I'm like, make sure they'll like collaborate your care. Yeah. So I work pretty regularly with I would say 4 or 5 of them, and it's nice because I can text them and be like, can I have a quick call kind of thing.
Yeah.
Nice.
And so I typically will refer to them that group, it's multiple groups, but different people, just because I'm like, last night I had to call one because some crisis happened and I needed them to do a medication change that night, So
gotcha.
I think making sure there's a relationship there kind of thing's important. But there's so many types of medicine. There's trying to figure out what works for you and what doesn't work for you, and
because everybody's body chemistry is so different. And it reacts, it's like ADHD medicine and everything else. There's so much. So it's hard, but be patient with that. And it seems like as the parent, I'll tell you, it seems like a long road.
It can be.
And and sometimes it's a great fit right off, and you're lucky with that. And, but
definitely.
Yeah. And I know people are really hesitant to take medicine a lot of times. It's a big pushback.
Scary.
It's really scary to be like, I'm putting this thing in my body and I don't know how it's going to help me my brain rewire. What?
Yeah, and to have somebody, I don't know, but I'm guessing it'd be helpful. I don't care whether you're an adult or with a child, to have somebody there to watch you too, to go, I'm seeing this, because maybe sometimes you can't see it yourself.
Yeah, you don't see it yourself.
Oh, definitely.
For sure.
So I guess also, so it can be hard to see how medication affects you, because you're inside it. What about just depression itself? What are ways that you think people should try and see if that's what it is, or if it's, how to identify it.
Yeah. Depression can be so tricky because there's so many people too, like what I read earlier about this, it's normally it's pretty obvious, loss of interest in things,
and I feel like that's generally what people think about is you're just lying in bed for weeks,
Right.
Yeah.
But maybe I don't know, you used to play guitar and you haven't picked it up in 3 months or something, and it used to be such a love and passion of yours.
Yeah.
I think that's another sign of something that just they don't pick up anything else.
Oh, yeah.
To supplement. They don't move into another area. I think irritability sometimes can be, especially actually I see it more. I have about 50% probably men in my practice, and that's more of a symptom, they say. For sure is more of that irritability.
That makes sense.
Maybe a lot of times they're using alcohol or substances to cope. So if you notice that increase in someone, sometimes that can be a sign of some sort of depression coming in.
Have you ever had somebody come in and they're like, I don't know if I need therapy long term, but I just want to come in and see where I'm at, if this is a diagnosed thing, or I don't know. Have you ever had somebody just come in just for a check?
Yeah. They just wanna see.
Yeah.
I have had a couple. That just want to come and see if there's anything they're not, maybe coping with well, or just something they're not seeing, that kind of thing.
Yeah. Interesting.
I think that's important. You brought that up. that checking, and sometimes just wanting tools. I mean, I think therapy provides such a great thing for, to, okay, here's some mechanisms, here's some tools you can use. These are things,
And yes, and I think I'm thinking about support too. So
I'm sorry.
Wow.
No, because I make a lot of mistakes on that.
I know,
one.
like supporting someone in depression, because I feel like that can almost be more frustrating to me than anxiety.
Yeah.
Because it's just like, well, you just get up, because if you do something, you're going to feel better. Like if you move, like physiologically, you will feel better. It's like, and that is so, you can't do it.
Yes.
And then they just want to wall themselves off, and you're just like not being let in. So like, what is the best way? Because I don't want to force, I don't want to fix, but what's the best way?
I mean, I think, again, it's back to that thing I said earlier about the validation and emotional support. It's like a huge part of it, because you got to connect to them for them to help make a change, It's like when they feel seen and heard in that, it's so different. Than just being like, all right, let's get up, let's go. It'll make you feel better. I know it will. Let's go on a walk. Come on.
Yeah.
They're like, no. Are you kidding me?
And I think that was one of the things. Paul is an engineer.
Yes.
A plus B always equals that. There's this prescription. You just do this. And he would, well, if this, then that. I'm like, if you think logically, don't do that, because that is totally opposite for depression.
Yeah.
It
not
doesn't
logical.
work.
It doesn't work.
And just being there, and I remember somebody telling me, I was on a retreat, and she was talking about her husband, and she said, he said, quit, don't mirror me. Don't mirror me, because that just reinstates it.
Yeah.
Just if you're happy, be happy.
Right.
If something great happened, celebrate it. You do this. Yeah. Don't mirror me.
Yeah, that's good advice.
And I thought, wow,
that's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, because it's hard.
Oh yeah.
Very,
I want to
very.
mope with you, or whatever.
Yeah.
Yes.
I also think like not making things like seem like, let's just do this little thing, because to them it's a really big thing, And so, I mean, I had clients who I'd say, let's take a baby step, and it would almost create shame.
Oh yeah.
Versus like, let's take this step versus a baby step, And then also I think it's like kind of not just like, let's go on a walk. It's like, okay, what if you sat up and we put your hair in a ponytail? Okay, what if we put on a different pair of clothes?
Yeah.
And then like, what if we just put our shoes on? We don't have to go on a walk. We're putting on our shoes. Yeah. So it's like slowly building into that, kind of thing. So like a behavior activation, it's like, okay, what if I just put one dish away?
Yeah.
What if I just put one thing of clothing away?
Yeah.
And then you end up just
then
doing
you get
it,
it.
right?
Yeah.
But it's like you have to slowly build to it. And so you're activating the behaviors to happen.
Okay.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. It's like setting the stage to do it.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
That's hard.
That's so hard.
It is hard. And we mentioned last week the fixing.
Oh,
yes.
You can't fix.
You can't fix it.
And, rescue or any of it's like just being beside. And I'm there, and our life is going on, and that it's I think it's one of the hardest things.
Yeah. And I think it's not being afraid of going to the hard places when you do like validate before you try to help them.
Yeah.
Like, I know you feel really helpless right now.
Yeah.
I know that you're really contemplating suicide.
Yeah.
Like sometimes it's like really just naming it for what it is.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
It is, and
we think it's like gonna make it worse. It's not. They're gonna
It'll
feel so
help.
seen. Yeah.
Yeah. I hadn't thought about that,
Yeah.
to name it.
Yeah.
Name that deep like hopelessness they're experiencing.
Yeah. Wow. It's a hard journey. It is a hard journey, but but I've seen a lot of beauty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Lots of beauty in it.
And I guess my question with depression, like, so it's paired with anxiety. Is it paired with a lot of other like mental health problems too?
Yeah. It's also paired a lot with like chronic illnesses, I think.
Okay.
Like, I have a couple of kids and people that have like, maybe they have like ulcerative colitis or POTS or just other stuff that's like pretty significant changes in their lives. So it can be paired with a lot of things for sure.
Interesting.
Yeah, and to deal with that, then you've got the mental to deal with.
The mental to deal with.
And being different.
Yeah.
And we haven't mentioned it, but I can't help but know that our social media and all that has so played in to depression, anxiety, and that comparing, it's nonstop.
It's not, you can do it at any time, anywhere,
Yes. Yeah.
Do you see it in your adolescent?
Oh, for sure. And I think they're getting phones younger and younger. They're getting social media. I mean, all you need to do is click a box to say, yes, I am over 13.
Yep, that's it.
Yeah. Like no parent has to be there.
Parent, right.
Like stuff like that, where it's like, wow, that's scary.
That is. It's a lot of power.
Yeah. But yes, for sure. Social media, huge. And then, rumination around anxiety can lead to like that pairs too. When you're ruminating about things all the time, that's such mental fatigue, and that leads to some more depression too.
Yeah, and if you're by yourself, this is just for me, but if I'm by myself and my voice is the only one I'm hearing, you don't want to go there with me.
It's crazy.
It is. I mean, we laugh, but it can.
True.
It's
you
that
can loop
spiral, and you lose reality.
Yes.
Is this real? Is this true? Is it really true?
Right.
That questioning, and I know if it's I'm not alone in that. That. And if you've got depression, then I can only imagine where that goes and takes you. And to have that support.
And so if everybody can have like a different source and where the depression came from, but I mean, do you find that there's still like some standard, I don't know, techniques that you use or to help cope with depression, or does it really, I feel like anxiety can be more broad, but does depression have to be a little more tailored?
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah, I do. I think because it's got to involve, I use acceptance commitment therapy as another one of the therapy modalities I use. And that's it's very values driven. And so, for me, when it comes to depression, it's like we got to orient them into their values. And so whatever you value is going to be a big part of it.
Okay.
And so using those values in order to help combat the depression,
That's cool.
But I think with anyone, they have to have a support system, especially with depression. Having that community, whatever it may be, is.
Do you have people that come to you that feel like they don't have?
Oh, yes.
Anybody.
And even though they do.
I was going to ask.
A lot of
they
times.
feel like they don't, but they do.
Okay, so before we wrap up, so we kind of gave the resources for finding a therapist last week. So do you have some extras?
Resources?
Yeah.
Yes.
I just finished reading The Anxious Generation. I can't remember who it's by, but it's pretty fascinating. Yeah, I think everyone should. I'm audibling it. I'm almost finished, but it's a good read. It's interesting. It brings a lot of perspective to how much screen time and versus playtime we give people.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I think that one's really helpful. I think, Kristen Neff, wonderful. Self-Compassion. She's out of Austin, Texas.
Okay.
I think she's retired now, but she's got great resources. She's got a website, books. She's got guided practices for self-compassion on her website.
Okay.
And then the last one is, the Eating Recovery Center and Pathlight Mood and Anxiety, where I used to work, has virtual online support groups.
Cool.
Free ones that's not just for alumni, but it's for eating disorders, for all sorts of mental health issues. And so there's different categories. If you only want to be with people who are young adults, you can click that. If you only want to be with other people in the LGBT community, you can pick that. Older adults, so and they have them across all times and at night during lunch hours, stuff like that. And so you can just register and have a free support group, which is nice.
That is fantastic.
And free is always good.
And free speaks.
Yes, free is always good. Oh my gosh. Well, thank you so much for being here these past couple episodes. We really appreciate having an expert. And if you have questions, please let us know. Comment if any of this stuff maybe got you thinking about a topic you want to hear for us to touch on. Please let us know. We want to give content that you're interested in. So, and then next week we'll kind of wrap up our mental health month.
Yes.
Yeah.
We'll look at self-compassion.
Self-compassion. All right.
Yeah. So we look forward to next week when we take a breath, take a listen.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode of An Incomplete Guide to Personal Growth. There are many ways you can stay connected. Follow us on Instagram at An Incomplete Guide Podcast, where you can sign up for our email list and get posts that delve deeper into our weekly topics. Make sure to subscribe to our podcast page wherever you listen to your podcasts. We would really appreciate a rating and sharing us with your family and friends.
We're so glad you chose to spend your time with us and hope there was a thought, a resource, or a laugh that you can take on your journey. We'll be here every Tuesday for you to take a breath and take a listen.